We got Bradley Martyn in the building, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling him right now, and we're going to be having a conversation with him. Bradley Martyn, I was at his gym the other day. We're going to pick his brain about Donald Trump. No hair, dude. God damn. When are you going to Turkey?
Oh, shit. Should probably go soon.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't when you buzz it like that, it doesn't make it looks like your hairline is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fuck it. I'll take that.
How much do you weigh right now?
Honestly, I'm like 255 right now. I lost my powers.
Fucking frail, dude. Oh my god.
Why do you have so many Zyn containers behind you?
What do you mean? I love Zyn. I slam those bad boys daily.
Yeah, look at us relating, bro.
Wait, so you're no longer relating. You're no longer 260. You're looking kind of frail right now.
Dog, come on. How much you weigh, bro?
I've lost so much weight since the last time you saw me. I'm from 225 pounds, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's small. You'll be good, though.
I was at your gym mogging people, dude. Which brings us to our main point of contention. You wanted to talk to me about supporting Donald Trump. I saw you tweet about how Kamala is not going on Joe Rogan, and that's all you need to know about that. That's what you said, something like that, something ominous.
Yeah, why didn't you go on it? Why do you think?
I think for two reasons. One, because I don't think she's capable of like having the same telegenic energy that Donald Trump has for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably a big concern. And then I guess like another concern probably was that, like, you know, Joe Rogan did endorse Donald Trump at the end of it. And she probably thought that it was going to be hostile territory in the way that, like, not in the way that it was not in the same way that, like, the Trump Joe Rogan conversation went.
You don't think he would ask her objective enough questions? You thought he would attack her?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's the campaign's calculation. I think I said it over and over again. I think that, like, Kamala Harris, like Joe Rogan, I think is a chameleon in many respects. Like, that's why he's a good interviewer. That's why people like him. Unless you touch on, and I say this as like a former massive Joe Rogan stan, right? I have his fucking mug and everything. I met him in 2016. He probably doesn't remember. We had like a 3-hour conversation back when he was a TYT fan. But I think unless you broach 3 subjects, Joe Rogan is going to be very nice to you, right? You can't come at him and be like, I don't like weed, I don't fuck with weed, because he's going to get all debate mode on you if you say some shit like that. Or COVID, right? Those are like the 2 major things. Or I guess like trans women in sports too. Like, those are the 3 things. Outside of those 3 things, you can talk to Joe Rogan about anything and he's going to be the nicest guy to you. Like, you could have like a radical, you could have someone from like Hezbollah talk to fucking Joe Rogan and he'd be talking about how Shia Islam is the real way, the real method, you know? Like, he will always be very conciliatory in conversations. But so for that reason, I think that it would have been a good conversation regardless, and I was looking forward to it. But I think even if it wasn't Kamala Harris, like, there's a lot of really great surrogates that could have gone on Joe Rogan. Bernie Sanders was a surrogate for the campaign. That would have been a great move. Tim Walz, Kamala Harris' vice president, is also fantastic. Like, Joe would have fucking loved Tim Walz. If Tim Walz went on Joe Rogan, I don't think he would have endorsed Donald Trump. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem with that whole campaign, it seemed like people just, the Democratic Party seems to have got so far away from majority, like the massive majority of people. So, like, when you say that, I agree. You could have other people that could have went on the show, but it wouldn't have had the same effect to the people watching, thinking like, oh, this is just another iteration of why I don't buy into this person as the president. Because, like you even just said it, someone else better could have gone on and helped her case. But I think people are like, I don't know, like moving away from that in a sense of like, they want to hear from her. They want to know who she is, not just like what.
For sure. The problem is Kamala Harris is she just like usually comes across as like kind of inauthentic, and also you can do that, but you can also have like good policies to make up for that. Because if someone is like maybe coming across as inauthentic, they could still make a solid case as to why you would vote for them if they were like, I see you, I hear you, I recognize where you're hurting, and I'm going to help you, right? If they say that, then people will be more understanding towards them, even if they don't have the charisma. I think Donald Trump, for example, does a very good job on the charisma front and is very telegenic, but rambles on all the goddamn time, which he calls weaving. Even Joe Rogan called him out on it and made fun of him a little bit to his face. That was kind of funny. But he, despite his weaving, like, he has the telegenic presence to keep up like a 3-hour conversation, even if it's like devoid of any sort of like intellectual rigor, you know, because I mean, he was just talking about crazy. She was like, oh yeah, fucking windmills are killing all the birds or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but don't you think like being able to have that sort of conversation is important for a president? Whether like it gets off to some tangent or not, right?
No, I think that, I mean, it's good to showcase yourself as like a real person for sure.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I'll tell you like this. If someone was like the most low functioning socially, and this is a antiquated term now, but if someone was like autistic, right, and they were low socially functioning, I think, or high needs, or I think that's the new term for it. Anyway, whatever. If they were like that, but they had some banger fucking policies, they were just like constantly advocating for healthcare for all, I'd be like, I don't give a shit that this person is not the best communicator. I don't care that they don't come across as personable, because like I agree with their policies, because at the end of the day, that's what I care about. I don't want to have fucking beer with a politician.
So why do you
politician to, you know, advance my interests?
Why do you think people got so disconnected then with the Democratic Party in this whole cycle?
They don't address the needs of the population ever. I think that there is an idea within the Democratic Party where they personally think that, you know, we just have to keep defending these institutions on the principle that they must exist at a time when a lot of people are suffering. A lot of, wage growth has not outpaced inflation, right? So now the amount of money you have in your pocket buys less shit. So if you're experiencing that, you don't give a fuck about the institutions. You know what I mean? Oh, wow, I can't believe we have to defend civility. Like, who gives a fuck? I'm burning. My wallet's burning. I don't give a shit. So I think that was a major problem with the Democratic Party, like not directly addressing the issues that people were experiencing. They could have communicated it better, because like at the end of the day, there was a global pandemic, right? The global pandemic disrupted supply chains that were already pretty fragile due to, you know, profit motives that were slated to be devastated with like any kind of change, any kind of shift. But this was a massive, massive disaster that caused a global inflation crisis. And all things considered, the American government, I think, in comparison to like our European counterparts, did a better job overall, but that's still not enough. And even if it wasn't for the inflation or the economy rebounding, as you know, nerds like to fucking talk about all the goddamn time, people were still angry in 2016 and there was no fucking COVID. You know what I mean? People were so angry in 2016 that they said fuck you to Hillary Clinton and voted for Donald Trump the first time. So they just refuse to recognize that. Like a lot of people, I think, that I talked to, and I talked to campaign staffers, I talked to people in DC in private conversations, and I used to think like they're just cynically serving the same corporate masses that the Republican Party cynically serves. And I am shocked when I come to the recognition that, nah, they're just in a fucking bubble. They only talk to lobbyists. And this is the same for the Republicans too, mind you. But they only talk to lobbyists, and their worldview is just like so far removed from the pain that that Americans in the Rust Belt are facing, Americans all around the country are facing in general. So that's the issue. There's a crisis in communication, and there's no interest in like addressing the underlying material harm that people are subjected to. And then they just fucking panic and point the finger of blame at other people. They'll be like, "Oh, it's just..."
And so that's the thing that I notice the most, like trying to look at things objectively, because obviously I lean more right, but I try to watch as much content as I can. And it seemed like anytime I would try to watch something about Kamala, it was just about how Trump was just such a bad guy, and for whatever reason.
To be fair, Trump is a bad guy. I do believe that. That's the other thing, right? I think Donald Trump is not a good person. I think he is a bad guy in like the most.
Question though, do you think anyone is a good person in politics? Actually,
I like Bernie. I don't agree with him all the time, but I still like him. I think
so do you
he's a
think
good guy.
Kamala is a good? Do you think Kamala is a good person at her core? Do you, like I have
No.
this problem. I have this problem with the political spectrum in general. Or is like at the end of the day, I don't think any of these people are like the best people on the planet. But I do think Trump spoke more directly to like most people's and like what most people, majority of people were dealing with as far as heartache or like pain points. And I think they went towards that in a smart way. I just think like
he spoke to the anger. He spoke to the anger and resentment that people felt, but he redirected that anger and resentment to not the appropriate vector, right? So the real problem is the economic circumstances that we exist under is very corrupt. That's it. It's just like pure corruption. I might call it capitalism, but the reality is just everyone is serving corporate masters, right? You go on MSNBC, CNN, or even Fox News, and they're representing certain interests, certain powerful corporations and their interests because they're buying millions of dollars of ads. They have a shit ton of PR people that go on there and speak on issues as though they are objective random people. And then you look at their fucking background and you're like, God damn, like this motherfucker is literally a lobbyist for Raytheon. Of course he's talking about what kind of missile systems Ukraine needs to get because he's a fucking lobbyist. Like he's not just a former general. That motherfucker is a missile salesman, you know? And I think everybody does that to a certain degree. And ultimately, Americans' interests never get represented. One side, on the other hand, at least acknowledges that people are angry. The Republicans do. But then they say, you're not angry because we're spending all this money in fucking wars overseas instead of fixing your goddamn potholes and making sure that you have better internet, making sure that, you know, there aren't 600,000 fucking homeless people that are sleeping outside tonight, right? We're wasting all of our money on this shit. Instead of saying that, Republicans do what? They say, you know who's the problem? All these immigrants that are coming in. You know who's the problem? It's the Democratic Party. They care too much about trans people. Like the Democratic Party didn't even fucking talk about trans people once this election cycle. It was just Trump that talked about trans people. Couldn't get it out of his goddamn mouth. He could have stopped thinking about trans people. So ultimately, it's like the problem.
trans people. What are you talking about? Trans people in sports? The sports thing?
Because everything. He's just like Kamala Harris wants to give bottom surgery to undocumented trans prisoners or some shit. And it's like, okay, that's like a normal medical procedure. You might not agree with it. It doesn't really matter. It's neither here nor there. At that point, you're cutting $10 million worth of ads in like Texas, specifically to dunk on like eight migrant trans people, which I think is like so insane. Like, who gives a fuck, dude? It's not like we're not transing the youth, right? It's like not a problem that harms or benefits any of us. And I think that they have a very good way of just like making you pay attention to certain shit. So you just never pay attention to who's actually robbing you blind.
Well, there is definitely something to say as far as, because I asked this question. I did the pod with Matt Walsh recently on Full Send, and I asked him somewhere towards the end of the pod, does this ever really change, no matter what hand it is, left or right hand, and no matter what is the candidate, who is the candidate, doesn't matter. Does the United States ever really ultimately change? Because it seems like we're talking about an overarching thing that is just innate in humans, which is like a sense of greed and wanting more for themselves versus another person. Because like, are we ever going to make humans not want more than the next person so much more that they're willing to do whatever it takes, whether it's start a war or be involved in a war or to fund a war? Do you ever think we actually avoid being in that case, or is that just too ingrained in what the United States has become as far as
I don't think it's in our DNA just as much as like it's assuming that selfishness and greed is inherent to human nature is especially under the current order of business, is forgetting that like so much of mankind existed without capitalism. But beyond that, right now, there is still so much peer-to-peer collaboration that we just take for granted. You have families, you have communities, right? Like you have people that are constantly collaborating with one another, and it's not always on the virtue of greed. It's not always on the basis of greed and wanting more. People just do shit for one another. It's not our natural state is not to always be in a state of conflict. Our natural state actually is just as conciliatory with one another as it is directly adversarial to one another. We just live under a system that makes it seem like it's zero sum and that it's, we got to constantly dominate other people. And I think that's, the sad state of affairs, and both parties certainly contribute to that. But I would ask Matt Walsh this question, really. Like, there's what? I think it was like 1% of the population is trans. Like, if they all were no longer trans, if you like forcibly were like, I don't want a single fucking doctor to perform the surgery, if you just like forcibly reversed their decision and said, no more HRT for you, right? And as people who have both taken different kinds of HRT, yourself and myself, I think, we don't exactly have that much of a problem with people doing hormone replacement, right? Like I take minoxidil, which is a DHT blocker. You may or may not have taken some other form of hormone replacement therapy.
It's true. Yeah.
But ultimately, like if we were to stop that, right, dead in its fucking tracks, we're like, no more. These medical professionals are woke. They were in the pocket of big woke, big trans. They were doing this for nefarious purpose. We got to stop it. Let's say we stop it. Did you put more money on your table? Did you put more money in your pocket? More food on your table? Did you get a better means of shelter? Did we actually solve the homelessness crisis? No, it's a fucking simple distraction. That's all it is. But it's one that I think tracks with a lot of people because like they get constantly pummeled, bombarded with this shit. And you go, man, fuck, this is like everything that everybody's thinking about all the time. And it's like, no, it's just people like Matt Walsh thinking about it all the time. Like it doesn't do anything. It's just like, that's why I liked Tim Walz a lot, Kamala's VP pick, because he was like, mind your damn business. Who gives a fuck? Calm down. We gotta feed hungry children. We got mouths to feed. And he did that in Minnesota, and he was really good in Minnesota for that reason. So I was actually a little bit encouraged by that pick originally from the campaign, but they silenced my man. They backpocketed him. They were like, nope, none of that woke shit. They were like, don't talk about feeding the poor. It's not good.
What do you think makes all this shit better? Because also actually scratch that question. I'm curious about since obviously the announcement, everyone's saying they're losing their rights. What's going on with this? Who's losing their rights? What rights are being taken away?
The rights stuff is, it's pretty valid. So Donald Trump, when he was in office, he appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. They all went in front of Congress, right? Because they do like these judicial hearings in the Senate Judicial Committee. And they do these hearings where they're like, what are you going to do? What is your background? Do you have any blackmail on you? That sort of thing, right? And in that process, all 3 of them actually lied to not only the American public, but to everyone in Congress, where all 3 of them said that Roe v. Wade was the super precedent, law of the land, we're not changing it. Now, the reason why they said that was because Roe v. Wade was incredibly popular. Most people, even pro-life people, were like, I'm pro-life. I wouldn't get an abortion personally, but I don't think the government should interfere in that, right? Because there's a litany of complications when you start putting legal hurdles that are unnecessary in front of this like fairly routine medical procedure. And they all lied and said they would never overturn it. And then they did. Lo and behold, they did that under the Biden administration. And a lot of people, specifically women and people who care about women's bodily autonomy, were very frustrated by that because now you have things like the horrible situation that occurred in Texas, like literally a week before the election, where an 18-year-old wanted to get an abortion because she had an ectopic pregnancy, right?
What is that?
And an ectopic pregnancy is basically when the baby's dead, like the fetus is dead, it's non-viable, and it's like dying inside of you, so it's like poisoning your blood. And you die if you don't get a medical abortion in that situation, you just die, right? So this person had to go to 2 ER, two emergency rooms And it was far too late by the time she got to the third, where someone was like, all right, we'll do it. Like, we'll do the ectopic, we'll do the abortion for you. And she died. And this happens now all across the country. These needless deaths are happening all across the country because doctors are terrified of criminal prosecution. Like, you know, these states are openly saying that if a doctor gives an abortion to a person, then they might be criminally charged with facilitating a murder. And that's a really devastating predicament, right? That's a real violation of people's civil liberties and a real violation of their bodily autonomy. So understandably, people were very frustrated by that.
But I've heard in Donald Trump specifically speaking to abortion rights being like for the life of the mother and some other special circumstances where it's like he believes it's okay.
So Donald Trump says that now, and that's because everyone got mad at him. So he was like, oh, I did abortion. And then he was like, oh, just kidding. I just want the states to decide, right? Which is a cowardly way to do it and kind of an old trick, actually. I mean, that's what the Confederates said when they were like, we just want states' rights. And then you'd be like, states' rights for what? And they'd be like, to own slaves, right? So like the states' rights argument in this situation, when it's like profoundly popular across the entire country, including every single red state, where abortion protections are over 50% approval, over 50% popular, including but not limited to the state of Florida, for example, where the abortion measure didn't pass, the constitutional amendment in the state of Florida, this past election didn't pass. But it didn't pass not because it wasn't unpopular. It didn't pass because the state of Florida made it into law that you have to get above 60% to actually fucking have something enshrined to change, to make a constitutional amendment. The abortion provision got 57%. Now tell me if that's democratic. I don't think that's democratic at all.
But isn't he still saying the states would then decide if they could have free reign on abortion? Right.
Yeah.
So wouldn't the states where most people are aligning and agreeing with that be where that's happening? For example, California, et cetera.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because like there's still a shit ton of red states where every single red state that had abortion ballot measures, including Ohio, actually said, no, we don't want to fucking, the fuck are you talking about? We don't want to actually limit abortions like that at all.
So then wouldn't they just vote and then that would just be the case?
They did do that, and many states did, but it still doesn't matter because some states, like Kentucky, for example, turned around and still said, nah, I don't care about the fucking constitutional amendment. I don't care about the ballot measure. I'm still prosecuting it. I'm still doing criminal charges. So I guess the question I have for you is like, why fix it if it ain't broken, right? So if every single state in the United States of America was already ready to, as you know, studies have shown over and over again, because this is a broadly popular initiative, if every single state was already interested in protecting abortion, why the fuck did Donald Trump's Supreme Court do that? I can tell you why they did it, but, you know, why do you think they did it?
If every state was already, well, then wouldn't that just be the answer moving forward, that's what would happen, is what I'm saying. Because what I understand is...
Yeah, but states are still adding unnecessary hurdles in front of the democratic process. In Ohio, for example, they actively tried to get it off the ballot. Like they literally were trying to change the law in the state of Ohio so that you couldn't get this ballot initiative because they wanted to stop the democratic process from being implemented. So that's the problem.
To keep abortion?
No. To keep the ballot, to keep the provision off the ballot.
To vote.
Yeah, so that people couldn't vote on it to defend abortion. Yes.
I see.
Yeah, so they do a lot of stuff like that. It's like a lot of little tricks here and there. For example, one of the things that they used to do under Roe v. Wade in red states was called trap laws. So they would add unnecessary red tape. Like they would be like, oh, if you want to fucking have a medical clinic that can provide an abortion, you have to have hallways that are like, you know, this length. Like really silly shit like that. When unless you like dive deeper into it, you don't really immediately comprehend it. But the sole purpose of that is to like limit the amount of abortion facilities that exist in the state because they just don't want women to get abortions. I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? Like, what the fuck? This is a medical process. You don't have an issue with abortion, I assume, right?
I mean, I'm not really so worried about it in that case. But my
Yeah.
question is still like in regards to losing a right, what rights are being lost? I mean, if the states are able to vote and people are able to vote.
Well, that's the problem. The very fact that it's like now, before the voting process occurs, I believe, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like 30 plus states that already had like automatic trigger laws that immediately criminalized it. And in states like Arizona, they went a step further. Before Arizona was even a state, okay, they had some antiquated ass law from like 1867 or some shit, okay? And they were like, the Arizona State Supreme Court was like, we are going to implement this insane antiquated law to try and stop people from getting abortion. So it's not like they go, oh yeah, well, I guess I'll respect democracy. No matter how much Donald Trump says that, that's just lip service. Politicians lie at the end of the day. Democrats lie too. And this is just the way that the Republican Party lies. The ultimate goal is to still limit what women can and can't do, what kind of medical decisions they can take. But they will, of course, massage it. They can't just be like, I don't want you bras to get a fucking abortion. You shouldn't have fucked around. I don't like that. They can't say that openly. So they just got to be like, this is because life must be preserved. And that's why we're doing this. You know, it's just a lie.
I wish I knew more details as far as like how the actual process went in the states and the voting for it. Cause it just seems like, I don't know nothing.
I can dive deeper into it if you want. I'm fairly knowledgeable. I mean, I'm pulling this shit off the top dome right now, but
I feel like you're looking at a computer and you're.
No. I mean, I'm on stream, but the only thing I pulled up was the ectopic pregnancy for chat to see when I was talking about it, like what an ectopic pregnancy is.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're having a good day then, huh?
Not necessarily. I feel like, I mean, I wasn't going to have a good day regardless of whether Kamala Harris won or Donald Trump won, but it's, I guess, a worse day overall now that Donald Trump has won. Because
what actually gets worse? What actually gets worse?
Yeah. So if Kamala Harris had won, it would be business as usual. And I think that the very same problems that exist that have gone unaddressed would continue to not be addressed, and people will get more and more angry. And the next time around, it wouldn't be Donald Trump. It'd be someone even more dangerous than Donald Trump, most likely, right? But with Donald Trump winning the election, I mean, he has campaigned on a lot of promises that are really, really damaging to the country. On the economic agenda, he consistently says he wants to implement tariffs. Now, I am a leftist, so I'm not immediately anti-tariffs. I use American manufacturing when I do my merchandise. I get it from union shops in the United States of America. Those are the people that manufacture my garments that I use for my merchandise. I don't know where you get your merchandise from, but I can give you one example of why Donald Trump's economic policies are going to be harmful to you directly. I assume you don't get it from America.
I get it from multiple different, some from America, some from Pakistan, some from China. It depends.
So the ones that you're getting from China, Donald Trump wants to institute a complete tariff on all goods coming from China. So the way tariffs work, and I don't know if you've ever broached in this territory at all, but like the way tariffs work is that it doesn't actually harm the Chinese manufacturers because they're not paying for it. It's basically a entry tax that you, when you're purchasing those goods from China, are going to be paying for it. Now, all of a sudden, that harms your bottom line. That harms your profit margins.
Is it that simple though?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's that straightforward.
No. Tariffs are pretty cut and dry. It's just basically when you say you're implementing a tariff, all the goods that you're purchasing from the country that has a tariff, or all whatever the goods are that have tariffs on them, you at the point of entry have to pay a fee, the additional fee. You're paying the tariff as an American.
So you don't think that there is then any need or competition that could be created in this scenario where, let's say, for example, now because as a business buying products overseas, it's too expensive, so I don't buy it there. You don't think there's any sort of initiative for example, China, right? for China to compete in a manufacturing area, which is the world, and mainly sending products to the United States, you don't think there's any initiative for the Chinese government to subsidize those companies so that they are able to continue business here overall?
No. They haven't done that. They usually just institute a trade war. They did this with soybeans, where they were like, "Oh yeah, you're slapping tariffs on steel that is coming from China. Okay, we're doing it on." Like, it just basically kickstarts the process of trade wars. Now, what is supposed to happen, what tariffs are for, is trade protectionism. So, like, that's the reason why I said I'm not immediately anti-tariff, right? Let's say you have a dormant manufacturing business, or a sector that you actually have the raw material for here in the United States of America, but American manufacturers have decided that it's much cheaper to get it from China instead. Okay. But you got all these jobs, you got all these facilities, and you got all this raw material that's ready to go, ready to rip, right? In that circumstance, it makes sense because your goal there is to shut off Chinese goods from being imported so that American manufacturing thrives. That means more American jobs, higher paying jobs overall. That'll still have an inflationary effect, certainly, because American manufacturing is going to be more costly. But overall, I think that there is an economic benefit to that. Now, instituting a wholesale tariff, on the other hand, from all goods coming from China, when you have no competitive manufacturing industries that will make up for the additional lack of supply, is going to simply make it more costly for the people that are still going to get it from China, and then pay an additional tax to the government. Now, you're going to pay that tariff, and now you still want to maintain your profit margin. So what do? You carry that cost onto the consumer. If the price of the t-shirt when you're purchasing in bulk is like $10, but now you actually have to slap on an additional $5 back, like a kickback to the government, now your bottom line is going to be $15 a pop. So now what do? You raise the cost of the t-shirt by $5. You want to maintain the same profit margins. You still have people that you've hired. You still have salaries that you must pay. So all of a sudden, now for the consumer, that t-shirt is going to be, if it was $15 to begin with, that t-shirt is now going to be $20. That's a $5 increase. That's inflation.
It's inflation just because they increase the price, but it's not inflation on people's money, their buying power. I guess it's because it costs more.
Inflation is in the cost of this consumer good has gone up. It is inflated.
What do you think a better way to do it is? And also too, I don't know enough about this tariff stuff to really speak on it, but I was under the impression that if a country is losing its ability to sell from a specific sort of industry, that it might try to be more competitive with that industry. And I figured like maybe there'd be some sort of fallback or blowback to the country to maintain it within the space, like to be able to continue to compete in that space.
Yeah, that's the point. Tariffs are trade protectionist policies, and that's why I said I'm not entirely against tariffs.
Yeah. So you just think it's gonna? You think that's not gonna happen at all? They're just gonna cost more for us.
What's not going to happen? Do I think that there will be a manufacturing boon for American goods providers? So yes and no. I don't think that it will cause a manufacturing boom. I think it'll just simply be additional costs that are offset by being carried over to the consumer, and will be inflationary for that. It will be immediately inflationary for that reason. And the reason why is because there's a shit ton of like raw material, for example, that we just have to export, that we just have to get from China. We just don't have it, right? Or refined materials that we have to get from China. And then now you just put on a tariff, and there's no like domestic manufacturing equivalent. Now you're fucked. What are you gonna do? It's a really cynical way, I think, to universalize taxes. It's almost like a flat tax. It's inherently regressive in the sense that like everyone is going to be paying for it. So I think it's a way to try to generate revenue off of the American working class. And I suspect he's doing that because he wants to cut taxes even further, so that, in order to make up for the additional taxes cut, you got to generate revenue somewhere. And that revenue, I think, will come from Americans paying the additional prices.
Man,
it is a very tricky way to basically cut taxes for the rich and make the poor pay for it. It's a very
how is it
way.
cutting taxes for the rich if rich have to pay? You got to pay more.
Because the rich aren't paying for because the rich don't pay for the tariffs. The rich pay for the tariffs and then they carry that cost over to the consumer. They're going to keep their profit margins the same. That's why I described the $10 t-shirt now is $15. But for the consumer, if the t-shirt was originally $15, now it's $20. So their profit margin remained the same, but people are paying more for it.
Where do you think this actual money problem gets fixed? Not in regards to tariffs or the stuff we're speaking to now, but just with the government in general and how the inflation is really more so based on the printing of money and just the misuse of our fucking money. And do you think that ever actually changes? Like, because that's got to be the like if we're talking about the thing that's causing the most inflation is like the printing of fucking money. Obviously, what we're talking about now is like going to cause inflation on the consumer side, but overall,
there's two different ways to combat inflation. You have monetary policy and you have fiscal policy. The problem is fiscal policy happens at the legislative level. And a big part of the deflationary mechanism on fiscal policy, monetary policy is just printing money, like you said, right? Fiscal policy, on the other hand, can be inflationary fiscal policy or deflationary fiscal policy. Deflationary fiscal policy would be more taxes. And everybody in America is immediately resistant to that. They fucking hate that. So, and besides that, Congress is always gridlocked. Republicans operate on an obstructionist policy, and they don't even get punished for stopping certain bills from passing. So, and then even lie about bills that they actually never voted for when, like the IRA or whatever, they openly were antagonistic to the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and then that actually secured some funding for their constituencies. So they went back to their constituencies with like, I brought this money to you. They fucking lied. They actually fought against it. And they fought to ensure that more money didn't even go back to their constituents, but then they still took credit for it. So that's just one way that they lie. And another way that they operate is just simply by obstructing and refusing to vote into law anything that could potentially help the American workforce.
All right, that didn't answer the question, though. I'm saying, what do you think is the thing that is actually going to fix this?
Fix what?
Like
inflation?
The government spending bullshit.
Well, this is actually one aspect of the Kamala Harris campaign that I agreed with quite a bit. She said that she would utilize pre-existing law in the form of price gouging against some of the worst offenders that unnecessarily increase prices. And she said she would go after grocery chains specifically, right? I think that another way to do that is by tackling commodity production in its entirety. So our agribusiness in the United States of America is heavily subsidized by taxpayers. So we do that in order to keep prices low. But we never actually demand anything in return from our agricultural providers. We never actually demand that they like keep prices actually low or not go above a certain point or even increase supply in times of need. So I think that the American government is giving billions of dollars to these corporations. They might as well demand something in return, which would be to lower prices.
Why doesn't that happen? That's a question. I'm just like, does this shit ever actually
The reason
fix?
why it doesn't happen is because when Kamala Harris said, I'm going to tackle price gougers, I'm going to go after people who are, engaging in the act of price gouging, which is to increase the prices unfairly without any sort of quote unquote market conditions. That's a really difficult subject to broach in general. Like, how do you regulate that? But that's besides the point. Just simply saying you're going to do that is good because the fear of that will cause companies to lower their prices and maybe eat away at their profit margins a little bit, which is a good thing. They should do that. But overall, the reason why it doesn't happen is because, well, one, Kamala Harris didn't get elected. And two, I don't even know if she would have pursued that policy, even if she was elected. But if she were to pursue that policy, then you got tens of billions of dollars in the grocery store business, including but not limited to the Walton family, right? That would come after you and probably drone strike your ass for fucking hurting their bottom line. Because once again, Both parties are beholden to their corporate benefactors. They serve the same masters.
And so this is what I keep talking about. Does that ever shift? That's what I'm saying when we talked about the greed earlier, just in general. When no matter what party, no matter what person, do you ever really even shift it? Because if it's not this person, it's that person. If it's not that person, it's this person. Then it goes every 4 years. It's a different cycle. It's the same sort of thing, nonstop.
Yeah, it doesn't. It only gets worse. And that's how we arrive at the condition that we're in right now, where many people in our generation feel like their future prospects are worse off than the generation that came before them. And there's good reason for that. Cost of housing is completely out of control. It is skyrocketed unimaginably. And people just simply do not feel like they could ever own a home. And there's understandable that they feel that way. They feel like they will never be able to retire. They feel like they never will have even a nest egg to, purchase some luxury commodities, some goods on the side to make themselves feel a little bit better. So, that is the reason why people are struggling right now. That is the reason why people are very angry.
Does it get you excited at all that Elon Musk is in the office? You absolutely hate him.
I don't like Elon Musk at all because
really?
I think, well, remember what I talked about in terms of the billions of dollars of taxpayer funded subsidies that these corporations get?
I'm assuming, he's going to get some. Sure.
He has been getting some. He's been getting some from the Biden administration. He got some from the Obama administration, and he certainly got some from the Trump administration. As a matter of fact, those billions of dollars of subsidies kept Tesla afloat in times where Tesla was about to be insolvent. Tesla was slated to go bankrupt, but the carbon credit swap scheme that was implemented allowed Tesla to basically sell their carbon credit to offset the carbon credits of American car manufacturers. Doors open. Doors open. 1 second. Sorry. I got a delivery.
Don't you think it was dope how he came into Twitter and fixed that bitch up? Fired everyone?
You think Twitter's fake? Be honest. Like, you actually think Twitter's better?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Dude, that shit sucks. There's fucking porn bots out the wazoo.
I mean, that's trash. Of course we can get rid of that.
Yeah, but it got worse under Elon. Porn bots out the wazoo. There's constantly fucking every other damn week. There's another guy who's like, white supremacy defender 1488 says black people are like animals, and then it got like, it's like 100,000 likes. I'm like, who the fuck believes this? Like, what the fuck? What an insane thing that people are just like openly saying. That kind of shit thrives on Twitter because of Elon Musk.
At least we have an outlet that's not just the same shit everywhere else.
But isn't it not the same shit everywhere else? I mean, Facebook is pretty fucking unhinged overall. I mean, a lot of these websites allow you to say pretty much everything except the thing that we're just talking about in terms of like, overt white supremacist, white nationalist, neo-Nazi rhetoric.
Right now,
you can say whatever the fuck you want, as long as you're not saying that, right?
No, but I mean, as far as like having an outlet that's not just fucking mainstream media that's just saying the same shit on every fucking station.
Well,
like it's like Twitter became that for a lot of people, and I know for a lot of content creators as well. Where
Twitter
it's not
also
just
has
like
a lot of fucking fake news and misinformation running wild. I mean, even the Democrats are doing it right now. There's like, I'm seeing people on my timeline being like, "Oh man, the election was stolen. Where are the 20 million votes?" Is like, come on, guys, you can't do that after you fucking made fun of the Republicans. Like, that's crazy.
I know, it's pretty funny.
But again, misinformation spreads pretty fucking crazy on Twitter, and I feel like that's a separate crisis that we haven't really addressed. Like, we are goddamn illiterate in this fucking nation. Okay.
I guess I was trying to ask you, like, in regards to Elon Musk being involved in the actual government. He's made jokingly, but seriously, about the government efficiency thing. You don't think they can make that better? Obviously, he's going to go in there and get some shit for himself, like every single fucking politician does.
Do yeah, he doesn't.
But at the same time, don't you think he's gonna? You think he can shape that shit up a little bit? Because it's wasteful.
So you're talking about like a government agency, right? That provides
wasteful money, just
like
wasted
provides
money.
like accountability, right? Like
yes,
like maybe they could be within the legislative branch that provides auditing and evaluative and investigative services, make sure that like people aren't spending a shit ton of money on dumb stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that exists. It's called the Government Accountability Office.
Bro, where the fuck have they been doing for the last fucking 100
What do you
goddamn
mean?
years, bro?
They are the supreme audit institution of the federal government of the United States. They already exist.
They need to turn that button back on then.
So what do you mean by like the fact that there's like not enough oversight? What do you think Elon Musk's gonna cut?
I don't know. I gotta go look at that shit myself.
So that
I don't know. But you think the government spends money efficiently? Do you actually believe that?
No, of course not. But I don't think Elon Musk is going to fucking actually do a better job of efficient spending, especially because he's a fucking defense contractor. Why the fuck would he be invested in efficient spending? You know who is the most inefficient aspect of our federal government? It's the motherfucking Pentagon, dude. They have a black budget. They have a black hole in their budget to the tune of like $6 trillion or some shit that they don't even have any accountability over. They don't know where the fuck it went. You know?
I just don't know how they don't know where their money is, but they know where all my fucking money is.
Yeah.
What the fuck's going on?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
Of course. Of course. That's just how it works. That's the point. But what I'm trying to say is there's already a accountability office for this, and there's a shit ton of people that work there, you know, professionals that work there. I don't know how much better Elon Musk is going to be in that regard, especially when he is a fucking beneficiary of billions of dollars of government subsidies. You know, I assume that he's just saying that because, you know, people like yourself who understandably want the government to spend these trillions of dollars more efficiently go, that sounds good to me. And you didn't even know that there was a government accountability office already that works every single day, ensuring that like the budget is spent in normal ways. But overall,
I'm just using the example of Twitter, right? Like he fired half the fucking people, right? It still works fine.
That's my point. It doesn't work fine. It's fucking breaking. Like
I don't know, bro.
Okay, you can't tell me Twitter works fine when like this dumb fuck wanted to do a campaign reveal for Ron DeSantis and that shit bricked. Like I can have 300,000 people tune into me and give them live video and audio at the same damn time. This motherfucker couldn't do that for Ron DeSantis campaign. He couldn't do that for Donald Trump. Like Twitter Spaces is so bricked.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I think you like Elon.
But Twitter as a whole is not bricked though.
It certainly is.
I love this fucking app.
Twitter used to have normal trends. Now they don't have it. They have Grok, which is like a really fucking horrible AI substitute for everything. Nothing works. Half the time the trending tab is filled to the brim with like dumb shit. They'll be like, oh, Israel was hit by a nuke. Why are they saying that? Because people fucking wrote it on Twitter. And then the dumbass AI picks it up and makes it seem like it's real news. And that's probably duping fucking older people that are going on that platform.
I can tell you're not a fan of Elon Musk. I'm going to bring up RFK. What about RFK?
Oh my God. As a person who is an experienced lifter such as yourself, if you are to tell me that you saw that motherfucker, you didn't know who he was, you didn't know what his background was, you saw that motherfucker looking like a Costco hot dog that has been left out in the fucking heat lamp for far too long, wearing blue jeans with no fucking shirt on, bench pressing, incline bench pressing, like not even 135 pounds. You'd be like, get the fuck out of zoo culture, dog. You'd be like, no. Okay?
No, what?
Yes, 100%.
Nah,
you know
bro.
the video I'm talking about. Have you seen the video?
He's a gym bro. What you mean?
Yeah, bro. Gym bro my ass. He was barely fucking hitting reps for 135.
Nah, bro. That motherfucker goes to gym every day. That's disrespect, dog.
Yeah. Another HRT recipient.
That's disrespect, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, send me the video. Shoot me the video. I want to see. That's fucked up, bro. You're disrespecting the older guy. He's getting it in.
Look at this. Hold on. I'm gonna share this video with you real quick. Hold up. 1 second.
Nah, that's disrespect, bro. That's crazy.
1 second. Hold on. Let me share the screen with you so you see it. Okay, here it is. Okay.
Yeah, play that. Oh, it's a vibe. What you mean, blue jeans? My guy's getting it.
Come on, dude. Look at the weight that he's putting up too.
So? What you mean?
That's not even 135 pounds. He has way more musculature to be able to fucking rep way higher. And I feel like, I mean, I guess his grip is like kind of tight. Like he's not doing like a normal
It's a
grip.
close grip. What you mean?
Yeah, he's doing a close grip incline press. But this garb, if you saw a dude roll up into your gym, honest to God, you don't know who the fuck they are, and they're just wearing blue jeans with a belt, no shirt, you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? What? Come on, Bradley.
That motherfucker got it, bro. I'd be like, damn, he's for real.
He's like, he can't even hit the last couple of reps. He's like dying. Come on.
Nah, I respect it, bro. He's trying. He's older. He's in his element. Like he got his. Bro, I love jeans. I'm wearing jeans tomorrow now. Just because you said that, I'm wearing jeans tomorrow. No shirt, no fucking belt.
You're gonna pull RFK Jr. You're gonna fucking
no, but fuck all that though. Fuck all that. Like, do you not like the things that he speaks about it? Like as far as the health?
No, I think he's a loony. Like he's crazy. So the thing is, this is like the Andrew Tate shit, right? Like Andrew Tate will be like, go out and work out and you'll be better. But then he also says like 18 other things that are like insane. And then people go, oh, why don't you like Andrew Tate? He says, you better yourself and work out. It's like, bitch, I say that too. It doesn't fucking matter. RFK Jr. will say a number of good things like, we got to fix our food, right? He'll be like, oh, we got to make sure that our food is healthier, right? And then he fucking turns around and he's like, and also I'm anti-medicine. And I'm like, okay, well, you lost me.
Wait, so you don't think there's merit in the fact that he wants to like actually sort of audit this pharmaceutical industry and like you don't think there's merit to that?
Brother, did you not hear what I said? There's merit to Andrew Tate saying you should work out. But like,
yeah, but are we more concerned with what this guy is fucking wearing and than what he's actually talking about doing?
The wearing stuff is just a meme. That's a joke. But in terms of like what the values that he believes and the things that he says, I think that while there are some good aspects of the things that he communicates, like the other day he said, Fruit Loops in America have like 2 ingredients. In America, they have like 16 ingredients. In Canada, they have 2. Why the fuck is that the case? I am going to deregulate the FDA. And I was like, okay, I had you in the first half. What the fuck do you mean deregulate the FDA? Like, the entire point is, in Canada, it only has 2 fucking ingredients because of regulation, not deregulation. So he has the wrong solutions, even though he sometimes arrives at the right problem. Like, he addresses the right problem, but then his solution is wrong. His solution is going to make more of that problem. So that's one of the...
You don't think that the FDA is directly like getting fucking money from these people?
I think there is a lot. It's called the revolving door, right? There's a lot of people that work in these regulatory agencies that come from that corporate background originally, and their job deliberately is to engage in regulatory capture at the behest of the corporations that they used to work at. There's a lot of corruption in that sense. I agree. These government facilities or these government regulatory agencies are far from perfect. But my answer to that is never to deregulate them or fucking blow them up, right? My argument is to actually make sure that they work and follow through on similar standards that other regulatory agencies like the ones in Europe or the ones in Canada have implemented.
But I feel like that's what he said. I feel like that's what he said he's going to do.
Yeah, I don't really believe it because he said a whole bunch of other phony, nonsensical bullshit about fucking vaccines and shit too. So I don't like that. That I think is very dangerous. I think he's a loony bin guy, especially on vaccines. Like I'm a guy who eats healthy, Bradley. I eat healthy. I'm on MyFitnessPal. I'm making sure my macros are set. At least 220 grams of protein every single day. Okay. Catch me at fucking 2 p.m. Pacific every day. I'm eating at least 19 ounces of straight white chicken breast every single day, okay? Down to a fucking T. I care about this. I care about my health. I advocate for healthier living and healthier eating for everyone in my community. I don't trust Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s attitude on this matter because I think a lot of the stuff that I've heard from him directly in terms of like how some medicine is poisoning us or whatever is really dangerous, is really scary. I don't believe that, like, while I do believe that there's corruption within the FDA, just like there is in all of our regulatory agencies, they do a whole lot of good that goes unnoticed. And it's not like the scientists that are working there that are in the pockets of corporations either. So I'm not.
You don't believe you don't believe that stuff is happening. That like
what stuff?
You don't believe that there is an incentive for these companies and like for scientists or people who say, oh, this, like, for example, the food pyramid forever was like, eat a ton of fucking grains. Grains aren't fucking good for people.
Oh, like the food pyramid and shit is like outdated. Oh, for sure.
But that's what I'm saying. Those are the same people. Those are the same.
Or corn.
The same people. Yeah, they're both. But
I mean, yeah, it's like high fructose corn syrup. Like we subsidized it heavily. It was a cheap alternative for fucking. It was a cheap alternative to cane sugar. And, you know, we couldn't maintain our sugar plantations in Cuba and shit. So we were just like, yeah, why don't we just go crazy on corn? Put it in the fucking oil, put it in the goddamn foods. And that had
what I'm saying is
healthcare impacts in the United States of America.
That's what he's going after, is that nonsensical shit that is fucking basically poisoning people.
That part makes sense. The issue that I have is not that. I don't really believe that he's going to be able to do that because Donald Trump is fucking Mr. McDonald's himself. And beyond that, he's another fucking rich asshole. When he was in charge of the federal government, when he was president, he didn't do any of that shit. He never even said that he was interested in like making America healthy or anything like that. So I have no reason to believe that he's going to do anything different than he has done the first time around. And most likely he's going to put another fucking psychopathic agriculture baron in charge of the goddamn industry that is supposed to be regulating the industry. Because that's one of the things that Donald Trump did that was really damaging. Was when he came to office, he looked at these regulatory agencies and he put people in charge of them that had spent their entire lives trying to nuke these agencies. Like for example, Betsy DeVos, right? She is I believe, like the recipient of the Amway, like one of those things. Like she's like massively wealthy. Betsy DeVos became the education secretary because she spent her whole political career, I guess, as a rich person. She made it her political project to basically disrupt public education in the state of Michigan. And she was very successful at that as a rich person. So then Donald Trump turned around and was like, I'm going to fucking give you the Department of Education. And what does she do at the Department of Education? She continued the decline of American education overall, making it so that a shit ton of the funds that were supposed to be going to our public schools that serve our underserved communities, you know, black and brown kids in general, would go to private facilities in the form of school vouchers and school choice. And it's that kind of stuff that really rubs me the wrong way as someone who pays very close attention to politics, who wants what's best for America. I want Americans to be educated. I want Americans to be healthy. I am very skeptical of people who will say they want Americans to be healthy, but then also sneak in a whole bunch of fucking unhealthy shit in the process.
You think RFK is going to put more unhealthy stuff?
I don't think so, bro. I don't think he's personally going to put unhealthy stuff in the food or anything like that. But I do think that Trump is going to do what Trump does and put a fucking another rich asshole in charge of the FDA, who will then continue along with poisoning America's food as business as usual because he is also beholden to his rich buddies.
So you don't think Donald Trump is going to do what he said as far as putting RFK in that position to be able to do that? You think he's going to put someone else?
Yeah, I think he'll probably put him in charge of like something kooky, like vaccine rollout or something, and that'll have damaging aspects for healthcare overall as well. Like he'll probably disrupt like vaccine rollout or.
So if Donald Trump doesn't do that, he puts him in charge of what he said he was going to put him in charge of. Will you say sorry?
If Donald Trump, well, I will only say sorry if RFK is in charge of the FDA and the FDA improves in the process. And of course I would say sorry. Look, the thing is, I'm very honest. Like I'm very stubborn to a fault. I'm very honest to a fault. A lot of people yell at me for this reason. If Donald Trump actually were to implement something positive, I would recognize it and I would admit it. I'll give you an example. When he was president, there was one aspect of his foreign policy that wasn't as reactionary, as right-wing or as maniacal as the rest of his fucking administration. He routinely allowed South Korea and North Korea to negotiate amongst themselves without interception, without adding on American foreign interest into the region. I like that. I openly said that was good. Rachel Maddow was freaking the fuck out over it at MSNBC saying, Donald Trump is in the pocket of the Kremlin. Donald Trump is, Vladimir Putin's butt buddy or whatever the fuck. I liked it because I was honest. I thought that was a good thing to do in terms of managing that conflict. Obviously, it didn't resolve, and it got worse since then. But ultimately, that was the right move at that time, and I admit that. If Donald Trump were to do something good, I would recognize it. The problem is he doesn't really do much good, and the Democrats don't do a lot of good either. But when they do, I will openly recognize it, and I will tell you that they've done a good thing.
That's good. At least we could. I respect that. I respect that.
Yeah,
I'm happy today, man. I'm having a good day.
yeah. So let me ask you this: what do you think Trump is going to actually do that will materially benefit you, like personally improve your life?
I don't know if I need a necessary personal benefit to my life. I think.
What do you think he's going to do for the nation that's going to be good? Like, out of all the policies that he has talked about, out of all the things that he said he's going to do, what do you think? I think the biggest thing.
I think the biggest thing that's affected us is, and if I just look at the past, under Trump, as far as his numbers, like inflation was not as fucked. Like people had money that went longer.
So do you think inflationary shocks are like immediately, like, do you think that this is stuff that takes a long time to come and go, like the boom and bust cycle, or do you think that the president is like directly related?
Obviously, it's not like someone shows up tomorrow and then it's like the next day everything's different. I know that's not how it works.
Because like COVID happened during the Trump administration, and that actually caused a lot of prices to go down, including gas prices, right? But like that was completely outside of his control.
Yeah. In the last 30 years, how many presidencies were Democratic and how many were Republican?
This is the best conversation. In the last 20 years, it was 12 years of Democratic leadership and only 4 of Donald Trump. So the decline that America is experiencing is directly attributed to not Donald Trump, sorry, the Democratic Party, is a very common thing that I've heard. I heard this from FaZe Banks as well when we were talking about it when he originally endorsed Donald Trump. The problem is America's decline is not just in the hands of the Democrats. As you've admitted, different masters, or different parties, but they serve the same masters. That decline happened far before the past 20 years. As a matter of fact, one of the worst aspects of America's decline came in 2008 in the housing market crash. That literally devastated the American economy. Obama had to spend 8 years trying to fix it, and he did to a certain degree. I don't like his solutions to that either, but I'm not going to get into it. But overall, that was a major problem for the global economy. And the issue for that was deregulation. Allowing people to sell predatory loans and corruption all the way through the regulatory agencies, including people that were adjusting the loans, including people that were creating a certain set of insurance for the loans on top of that knowingly that they were going to default. So all of that happened as a direct consequence of deregulation that both parties were responsible for, both like Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, and virtually every American president, Democrat or Republican, has contributed to that issue. But it, of course, exploded under the Bush administration, and Bush is a Republican as well.
So we're just saying it's Bush's fault, or?
No, I'm saying that it's not one party over the other.
No,
These are consistent issues that remain. Oftentimes they remain dormant, and then it's slated to explode. You got bubbles; they're gonna pop eventually. It's more so, it's like hot potato. Who is it gonna pop under, and what will they do when that bubble pops? That's basically what the American conflict management it looks like at this day and age.
And then it's blame everyone else for the problems.
Yeah, but in terms of like printing money, you were talking about printing money, right? During COVID, Donald Trump printed a shit ton of money. Another thing that Donald Trump did was cut taxes for corporations and the wealthy. He did this at a time when profits were sky high regardless. He didn't have to do that, but I think that those probably contributed to America's deficit and also contributed to inflation as well. And then Joe Biden came into power, and he had to sit there and have to deal with that. Did he deal with that adequately? I wouldn't say so. I think that there's more that he could have done. He could have probably helped out a little bit more in terms of like all the people that were suffering, give them more money.
So I have a question
But
about that.
what?
Sorry I interrupted. So you think Biden didn't do a great job?
There were certain aspects of Biden's administration that I think was shockingly good. He did a really good job with the NLRB. He did a really good job with American unions. He at least offered unceremonious, like unique support, unique levels of support to the American labor movement that no American president has ever done before him, with the exception, I guess, of like FDR maybe. And I really like that. He pulled out of Afghanistan. I really like that as well. That was Donald Trump's negotiated conditional withdrawal. He had the political courage to withdraw out of Afghanistan. Everybody yelled at him for it. I defended him for it because it was the right thing to do. And I think outside of that, I mean, there's certain things. There's infrastructure spending that he engaged in, and that was decent as well. There's a lot of battery plants that are being that are now in operation, hiring, a shit ton of manufacturing jobs in the country. This is all good stuff. Having said that, there was also a lot of bad. First and foremost, I think he did a horrible job with dealing with the immigration crisis. And by that, I mean, I don't think he cared about the humanitarian aspect of the immigration crisis. He made a lot of promises when he ran and won in 2020. He had a 100 days agenda. In the first 100 days, I'm going to do my power. I don't know where it is. Mom. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we have conditional amnesty to all undocumented citizens that fit the certain requirements that are living on U.S. soil. Many of them have been living here for 8 to 10 years. They just work honest jobs. They just want to make a living. They want to have the proper processing and the proper paperwork. That's the only difference between someone like myself, someone like you, and an undocumented citizen in that regard. They just don't have the paperwork, right? So he said he was going to do that. He didn't do that. And he actually very quickly went right-wing on this issue. And I mean, the Haitian migrants that were crossing the border were getting whipped by fucking Border Patrol under the Biden administration. You know what I mean? Those images came out not from the Trump administration, but the Biden administration. I was very critical of that. I knew that this was always going to be a political problem down the line. I kept repeatedly saying that they have to have a more humane process for this, or else it's going to become a massive political issue come November. I said this in February of 2021. I was like, if the Democrats don't actually fix this issue, the Republicans are going to constantly push, and the media is going to constantly heighten the tensions, because if it bleeds, it leads. They love these narratives, right? They're going to say, migrants are doing crazy shit. What the fuck? There's a migrant crisis. They're killing people. They're eating cats and they're eating dogs is basically what we arrived at come November. And now the Democratic Party is pushing a right-wing border bill, which, they were pushing it because they thought that it would be politically beneficial for them. I think it was a massive mistake. It makes them look like stupid-ass hypocrites. And also, it's a bad bill to begin with. You can't fucking say the border wall is racist for 8 goddamn years and then turn around and be like, we want to build the wall ourselves now. That's fucking dumb. And also, the border wall is still fucking stupid. So immigration is a massive issue that the Biden administration fucked up on. Another massive problem, obviously, is Israel. Biden has given an unimaginable amount of political leeway, political cover, and also weapons and money to the state of Israel so they can do a fucking genocide. I think that is unconscionable. That is morally repugnant. And also on top of that, it's just not a good idea in general for America standing in the world to let our attack dog in the region roam fucking wild and kill as many children and women as it possibly can in places like Gaza. And now that conflict is extended to fucking Lebanon, where they're doing the same damn shit to Lebanon. That's a whole ass different sovereign nation.
Yeah, this is, man. It goes back to the thing that I said earlier. I had a conversation with a guy at my gym today about this. It's like, does this stuff ever truly stop, or is it just ingrained in just the human nature?
I don't think it's human nature. I think that, I mean, I'll tell you this much.
I'm not saying that like it's right. Obviously, it's not right. It's not human nature to just kill someone. I'm talking about the continuous want for more, whether it's more space, more land, more money, more whatever. And I'm not saying space in specifically this situation as far as Israel and Gaza. I'm not.
Well, I mean, that's not a wrong assessment, though. It is space. They're looking for living room. That's what they're looking for.
Fair. But I'm just saying in general, like just the human nature of like more, because it seems like I don't truly feel like people in any place in the world, they just wake up and they're like, I want to go kill this other side or this other person. I feel like a lot of the, I don't know if it's a religion thing or if it's a culture thing where they believe or they're taught or they're shown that they're better or worse or whatever the fuck it is, but that it's all exacerbated by the same sort of like a money machine of continuous control and continuous money sort of, I don't want to say laundering, but it just seems like.
No, you're nailing it. It is that is what it is. Governments have these sorts of interests. America has an interest in this resource-rich region, the Middle East, right? I mean, we've directly meddled in the affairs. We've also directly invaded countries in the Middle East, right? But beyond that, Israel is like an American state and not like a shitty state like Wyoming, like an important state. You know what I mean? Like we treat Israel like a unsinkable aircraft carrier with its own military capabilities, its own espionage facilities in a resource-rich region that we basically let do whatever the fuck it wants to do in the region when we want to fuck shit up. That's the simplest way to put it. With the ultimate purpose of it being like controlling the Suez Canal, if that ever becomes an issue, and also making sure that we restrain other countries that are oil providers themselves, for example, from, maybe speaking out of turn or behaving in a way that is inconsistent with our interests. So that's
so. Do you think we ever?
Purpose.
Do you think we ever? Does it ever stop, or does it just continue to change hands and change locations?
Yes and no. I mean, think about it this way. One thing that I explain to people is like, you look at the European Union, right? European Union is a open border policy, right? They had the Schengen, and now you can just like go from one country to the next, and they're all operating like the United States of America, like an economic engine in unison, a collaborative effort, if you will. Now, the European countries, even before they were countries, they were kingdoms. They had like the same cousins. They were fucking each other, and they were constantly like wife swapping shit, but they fought each other for hundreds of years. England and France literally had a 100-year war. But at the time, I'm sure if you were living in that circumstance, you were probably thinking, oh my God, war will never end. What the fuck? I hate those French fucking pieces of shit, right? And the French were like, I hate those British fucking inbred pieces of shit. Turns out you can actually coexist pretty easily because it is not in our nature to constantly fucking kill one another. It's actually in our nature to collaborate with one another and live at peace with one another. Governments, on the other hand, have different opinions, and they will do everything they can to propagandize a position and to ensure that you also feel unsafe. We got to do something about Iran. We got to do something about this. We got to do something about that. We got to fuck shit up. Why? The fuck have they done to you? You know? They haven't done shit. They just want to live. Leave them alone.
Yeah, I just wonder if it ever stops.
I mean, it does. I just showed you an example, right? Europe is now.
Yeah, but there's also tons of other fucking issues there, no?
I mean, not necessarily.
Just a different.
What do you mean?
Issues just change. They just change. Like it's. I mean,
there's a wide difference between like people literally fucking slaughtering, raping, and pillaging one another versus like, I don't know, issues that pertain to bureaucracy. You know, what ply toilet paper you can sell in your grocery stores is
that's not what I mean.
Inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah, I get it. Obviously, there's definitely a tier as far as like what's worse or what's better.
I think that
I'm
would
still
be
talking
far
about
more favorable.
I'm still just talking about just the overarching idea of like it's just like there's not this like unison of people ever when it comes to government and like the control of it. It's just like me more than you, and it has to be that way. And then another party or another leader's in whatever it is based on its system, and then it's still just me more than you. And it's like they use all the other things as like things to get everyone else pissed off about, whether it's like the LGBTQ stuff or it's like COVID or some people just disagree on that, hate each other for that, hate someone for this.
Yeah, but that's directed. So it's called wedge issues, a concept that the Republican Party implemented by Newt Gingrich famously, where they looked at like They looked at the situation. They were like, damn, these fucking Democrats are agreeing with us on all this economic stuff. We can't actually polarize the parties. We can't look like we're any different. How the fuck are we going to win an election? So they were like, ooh, I got an idea. Let's go talk about gay people and how they shouldn't exist. So then you write legislation around it. Then you propagandize against it. You're like, oh man, these gay people, they're such fucking perverts, huh? Isn't that crazy? And back in the day, that was what they were saying about gay people instead of trans people. Now they're saying it about trans people. Back then, they used to say it about gay people, right? They were like, oh, what is this fucking man marrying man shit?
Wait, you're saying that Republicans started that?
Yeah, the entire wedge issues are oftentimes created by the Republican Party. Newt Gingrich is like very famously
I've seen video of Obama talking about how marriage should be between a man and a woman and nothing else, and I've seen Biden say the same thing.
Because Democrats are fucking pussies. You're right. That's my point. Democrats will literally straightforwardly look you dead in the fucking eye and be like, well, a lot of people are homophobic, so I'm going to be homophobic too. And then they'll turn around and pass it, later down the line when it's more fashionable to do so. But up until that very moment, they won't stop themselves from being homophobic too. That's just how it is. Yeah, they're fucking charlatans. I mean, look at the situation with the border. They literally were like, it is so stupid and racist to build a wall. Now they're like, we want to build the wall, actually.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? They don't give a fuck. They think that this will win them votes. That's all they care about. The problem is, it's actually not politically smart for them to do this. But they're too terrified of the Republican Party, so they just never make the right decisions and fight against the Republican Party in an honest way and make a convincing argument why the border situation is not the way that the Republicans present it, which leads me to my biggest fear with the Republican Party. What I mean by that is the Trump's border bill or Trump's border suggestions, his border legislation is terrifying. Like actually fucking terrifying.
Where are you seeing this?
He said that he wants to deport 20 million people that he says live on U.S. soil as undocumented migrants, right? Now that number is contested. According to federal agencies, they believe the number is around 13 to 15 million. He claims it's 20. Let's say it's fucking 20, right? He has said to Axios as of this morning that that's the first thing that he's doing. He's going to start mass deportations day one. Now, this is devastating for the economy, but more importantly, is devastating for just like normal human beings that live amongst us, right? 1 in 15 families in the United States of America live in a mixed status household. That means 1 in 15 people live with someone who is undocumented. Donald Trump wants to deport every single one. The overwhelming majority, if not damn near entirety of undocumented migrants are not fucking criminals at all. They're just regular ass like abuelas and shit that have been living here for 8 to 10 years, that have just been working, that maybe even started a business, right? And now they're just going to get forcibly removed. They have children, they have family members, they have integrated into American society, they're paying taxes, and now you're just going to come in and instead of giving them a pathway to citizenship, you're just going to fucking rip them away from their families and then deport them to God knows where. You're going to put them in detention facilities and then inevitably detain them and then deport them. I think that that's really, really terrifying.
So I'm assuming this is the people in the last, 4 years that have just flooded in? Is what he's focused on, or is he's focused on?
No, the 20 million number is like total number of undocumented migrants, not in the last 4 years. These are people that have been living here. Some of them have been living here for 20 fucking years, 30 fucking years. Like these are people whose sons, ironically, and daughters, in some instances, went out and voted for Donald Trump. And I saw it. Like people would get interviewed on the line. They'd be like, okay, where are you from? And they'd be like, oh, my dad is undocumented. Who are you voting for? Donald Trump. They'd be like, okay, they're going to deport your dad. They'd be like, nah, my dad is one of the good ones. They're gonna deport the criminal undocumented. It's like, no, dumbass, they're gonna deport your dad too.
I want to see how this actually shakes out because I was under the impression that it's the people within the last 4 years because it's been like millions and millions that add up to I think well over, I don't know, maybe add up to
No, we did not get 20 million new undocumented migrants in the last 4 years. That's insane. That's to the total number of undocumented citizens living on U.S. soil right now is not even 20 million. I think it's like 15 million. No.
Hmm.
I assume Trump is using border apprehension numbers, like people who are crossing the border. A lot of those people might even be going back and forth between the border illegally, or people that wanted to come into the United States or had their process claims denied. Like he's using border apprehension numbers to suggest that there's a lot more undocumented migrants living here than it actually is. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Even if it was fucking 20 million, it's not like they haven't done anything wrong. You know what I mean? They haven't fucked shit up. They're not doing shit.
But so then now this leads to the conversation about like, what about all the people who have done it the legal way, who've like taken the process to go through it?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
fuck
great
all those
question.
people.
So,
Because where it's like, I get it. Like, I hear what you're saying, but
I understand that. That's a very common thing that people say. Okay. I think that process should also be eased as well, dramatically. Because here's the thing, these people are coming into the United States of America not for some like nefarious purpose. They're coming to the United States of America illegally because the legal means are shut off, right? If you were to, let's say, procure certain kinds of medicine through legal avenues, like if you go to a doctor and the doctor prescribe you TRT, you're going to do that, right? You're not going to have to go through illicit means. That is why I'm in favor of legalization. And it's the same principle for migrants coming in. If there is no negative consequence to migrants coming in and maybe even leaving the country whenever they see fit because they have the proper processing, the proper paperwork, then why should we fucking deport them? They're not doing nothing. And as a matter of fact, not only are they not doing anything negative, they actually have a tremendous amount of benefits for the American economy. They're paying taxes. They can't even take enough. They can't even take anything else from our social safety nets. They are contributing to the American culture. They're here. They're just working. That's all they're doing. Sometimes they're working in horrifying conditions for pennies on the dollar, like the United Fruit Workers that are the backbone of the agricultural industry. Undocumented migrants comprise like the overwhelming majority of people who pick our fruits, people who pick our crops in general. They play a massive role in the construction industry. I say we process these guys. I say we allow them to be American citizens. They're already contributing to the American economy in incredibly meaningful ways. I think it's the more humane approach. Now, if I were to present,
are you versed on his actual approach? Like, has he explained explicitly exactly what he's going to do
Yeah.
with certain people?
yeah,
Where is that at?
he said every single undocumented migrant is getting deported. There's 20 million of them, and we're going to start day one. JD Vance has elaborated further on this process where he said, yeah, we're going to first start with like people that we consider to be high profile criminals, but that obviously already happens. If someone is an undocumented migrant on U.S. soil and they commit a crime, they're going to either jail or they're getting deported. Usually they're going to fucking jail. They're not even getting deported. They're just slamming your ass in prison. They're not letting people go when they're undocumented migrants that are doing crimes. So,
I mean, it depends if you're in California or not.
so when no, come on, that's not. California has some of the worst prison systems. It's so bad that in, I believe 2011, the Supreme Court was like, you have to lower the number of fucking prisoners in your prison system because you simply do not have enough space. California also literally utilizes slavery as a form of punishment, where we make our prisoners fight wildfires. We pay them nothing. We actually make them pay for their own room and board in the process of fighting wildfires. And then when they get out of prison, these are nonviolent offenders, by the way, with a low propensity to reoffend. When we release them from prison after they've done their time, we don't even hire them to work in the fucking fire departments. It's a really fucked up process, if you ask me.
We put him on a Netflix special, though. To get on a Netflix special.
Okay, but that doesn't mean shit. You know, one guy got a Netflix special, but like it's still fucked up for everyone else.
A whole bunch of them did.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh man. God damn.
So, you know, that's another part of the problem. But yes, Trump has said he is going to deport every single person. JD Vance says he's going to go after criminals first, and then nonviolent offenders, and then or not even offenders at all. It's just all of them eventually. Now, the process to do that is going to require a tremendous amount of money, right? But now that we've established that these guys aren't like doing crimes, there's evidence. There's plenty of evidence. They track this sort of shit. undocumented migrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are, just for the record. Much, much lower rates of crime in general. Not only that, but Donald Trump falsely lies all the time at his rallies and says they're killing hundreds of thousands of Americans a year. That's also fucking straightforward bullshit. The number of homicides and manslaughter that undocumented migrants have committed in the fiscal year of 2024 is, I believe, 29. Not 100,000, 29. Not 2,900, 29. Okay, so why is he fucking lying on undocumented migrants like this?
Where does this data get put together?
Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol apprehension statistics. So it's not like fucking woke shit, right? It's like this is, it's not the Department of the Homosexual Studies. It's the Department of Homeland Security. So that's where it's coming from. But so why is he lying about it? Right? Why the fuck does he lie about this shit? Well, it's because it's really good to have an enemy to unite against, an enemy to dehumanize and say is barbaric. They're doing rapes. They're doing murders all the time. They're killing Americans. So now when you're angry, you have someone to target your anger towards. And these people, when they're defenseless, as undocumented migrants are, because there's very little legal avenues of recourse for them, it makes for a perfect villain, right? Because they're weak overall. There's no one defending them. So they have no way of being like, what the fuck do you mean? I'm undocumented. I'm a normal guy. Because if you fucking speak out, then they're going to be like, okay, now you're apprehended, bitch. Now you're going to Cancun or wherever the fuck we see fit. The other
do you
side,
think there shouldn't be a wall?
I think the wall is a stupid way to try and combat like drug trafficking or anything really. It's ineffective. It doesn't work. It's just a waste of money. It's just a symbolic gesture. It's red meat for a lot of people who are like, but walls happen. They are around my house, right? Like it doesn't fucking work like that. Especially at a time when 52% of undocumented migrants that are coming into the United States are actually visa overstayers. So that means they got a visa. They came into the United States, like Elon Musk, actually, who is a fucking illegal immigrant, by the way. They came into the United States and then they overstayed their visa. So that doesn't shut that off either. And beyond that point, border crossings are going to happen regardless of whether there's a wall there or not. And the wall is not really stopping anything. And on top of that, people already have to get to U.S. soil to seek asylum, which is a legal process. We call them illegal, but they're technically legal. It is our humanitarian obligation to process them.
So you would have a U.S. with no border?
No, I don't think that there should be no border whatsoever. I think we should know who's coming in and out in the same way that we figure out who's coming in and out by way of airports and shit, right? I ultimately believe that the process should be fair and the process should be easy. And then if you're like, I don't know, like a criminal mass rapist or something, and you want to come over, we're going to be like, oh, no.
But this is the thing, right? Is it fair if the people who have tried to do it legally are not, they're just getting overshadowed by people just fucking walking right in?
Well, I'll tell you this much, right? I'll tell you this much. I'm from a family of immigrants. I myself, I'm an anchor baby. My parents are Turkish.
Is this a middle class family thing right now?
No. I'm just telling you my situation. My family gave birth to me here on U.S. Soil, so I could have an American citizenship, but they weren't American citizens at the time. My mom has one now, but basically, for them, they went through the legal route, and I technically went through the legal route. You don't see me fucking complaining. You don't see them ever complaining either. Most people that come in here legally understand how fucking long that process takes. So they have a lot of sympathy for undocumented migrants who are escaping treacherous conditions back home that simply want a better life for themselves, as do we all. So I've never heard from like people who, I don't know, go through the fucking legal route and be like, why don't you take 10 years out of your life to fucking do it the legal way, you son of a bitch? It's kind of like, imagine if there was like a medication for cancer, right? And then you got an alliance of like former cancer survivors that got together and were like, unfair. You can't take this cancer medication. We had to go through chemotherapy. That's what it would be like. It's just pure selfishness if they were to even advocate for that sort of thing.
Wait,
I'm saying that people who went through the process legally are oftentimes infinitely more sympathetic to the people that cross the border illegally. And the reason for that is because they understand how long it takes. So the goal is to streamline this process and make it more humane. You would not go through the border illegally. You wouldn't fucking give your life savings to some dude that works with the cartel that's like trafficking humans over the fucking border if you had a safe route, if you had a safe and legal way to get into the country. So the border restrictions that America has implemented in terms of like not processing people, not allowing them to come through legal measures, not allowing immigration from places like Mexico, Guatemala, and the like, is actually helping the cartel. It's very beneficial for the cartel. This is before we start talking about the war on drugs and also the unrestricted flow of weapons that we offer to the cartel in exchange for black market drugs that they ship into the United States, which leads me to my next point. Donald Trump says undocumented migrants are trafficking fentanyl, right? You've heard him say this. They're sending drugs into the country. That's what he says, right? These immigrants are.
I've heard it.
Yeah, so that's also a falsehood.
You're telling me that drugs aren't coming over?
No, drugs are coming over the border. They're coming over, according to the Department of Homeland Security's own data. Drugs are apprehended at the border at regular points of entry. They're not actually apprehended at irregular border crossings, but regular points of entry, as in people in cars that chop up the cars and load it with chemical compounds that are necessary for fentanyl production, or they're directly shipped from China in containers. They're not actually coming over the border in the fucking lap of law-abiding abuela. They're actually being trafficked through vehicles.
In traffic, do you think it could be a lot that's coming through the border?
What do you mean? No, 90% of it is coming through 90% of it is coming through regular points of entry, through the border, through borders and through the ports.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Hold on, but I got one more data point for you, and this might actually blow your fucking mind. Are you ready for this?
Okay, I'm ready.
If I were to ask you what percentage of the people that are trafficking drugs are undocumented migrants, what would you say?
What percentage of people who are trafficking drugs are undocumented
Over the border,
migrants?
yeah.
Oh, just based on the way you asked that question, I'm assuming it's less than fucking.
Don't metagame, motherfucker. Just tell me what your actual answer is.
Based on your.
Don't metagame. What do you think it is? That's important. There's no wrong answers here. I just want to know what you think. This is
8%.
more important for me.
8%.
Son of a bitch. Why would you? You said it low on purpose.
Well, how was I right?
No, you're right. It is. It is literally fucking 8%. 8% is undocumented migrants. It's 8 to 10%. So 90%, 90+% of the drugs that are coming over the border are actually being trafficked by American citizens.
This is not going to age well for me because of the drug dealer jokes and the fact that I knew exactly the number of smuggled drugs. It's just not ending well for me, this conversation. But of course I know that. Anyways, it's chats. I'm looking.
That is awfully suspicious that you fucking nailed that statistic. That was weird.
Holy shit. Okay. Anyway, so listen. Okay, you said a lot of stuff, and it was beautiful. Well, eloquent, very eloquent. So, wouldn't we not have any of those issues if we just had an actual border? And then
no, we do have an actual border. I'm saying that they're coming through regular points of entry.
Yeah, but let's just say a border where you can just walk through. You can just literally just walk through, like straight through.
No, there's no. My point is not that people could just cross this fucking boundary willy-nilly like cattle. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm saying that people, if given the opportunity, would go through that process. If it was as simple as just like showing up and getting an appointment and then walking through the border where you do get checked, right?
So there we go. Point. We need a real border, and then we need a legitimate place where they pull up and they go, or 2 or 10 or 100 places where they go.
Yeah, even if there wasn't a wall, people would still go through the regular route, is what I'm trying to say. Because the wall doesn't.
That's not true though.
No, because the wall doesn't stop people from going through anyway. People still fucking find a way to penetrate the wall. It doesn't even stop them. So that's my point. But if you gave a legal means, why the fuck would anybody be like, nah, dog, I'm gonna actually literally go through I'm gonna fucking sneak in because I instead of just like going through the regular route. You know what I mean?
Because drugs.
Yeah, that doesn't stop. No, but that doesn't stop drug apprehensions either, because there's already constant fucking surveillance on the border. That's my point. I don't have an issue with constant surveillance on the border for drug apprehension, but like that already exists. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but there's still places on the border where people just drive through, like straight up walk through.
Yeah, that's happening. I know. And then there's also places where the wall exists, but then people still fucking find a way to poke through it. But my point is, people would not cross through if the wall was just not existent, right? But there were points of entry that you had to go to. Like, even if there was no wall whatsoever, people would literally go to that point of entry to be like, okay, I'm here. I just want to walk into the United States of America legally. That's my point. Here's the deal, right? You go to your friend's house. If the door is open and your friend has invited you, you're not going to fucking climb through the window. You're going to go through the door, right?
Unless I brought some drugs around the back and I wasn't trying to get caught by his mom. And I was like, yo, bro, like, come over here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, fair.
Yo,
fair.
what I got here. That's the point.
But we already established that the easiest way to traffic drugs is through through American citizens crossing the border in vehicles through regular points of entry. So they're not doing that right now, wall or not. I mean, I'm sure there's other methods. Like I think they do slingshotting, they do tunnels and stuff too. But like beyond that,
wait, what's slingshotting?
Like people just fucking slingshot drugs over the border or drop it with drones and shit.
No, you're saying they're like this?
No, like I mean, I don't know what the fuck they use, like a trebuchet or something, but they have drones. They drop it with drones and shit. You're the drug dealer. You should know this better than me, bro. I don't fucking know how they do it.
I'm trying to figure out what you guys know about the business, you know?
Yeah. You're testing my acumen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other aspect of drugs also is that like the measures to combat overdoses is actually another thing that the Biden administration actually successfully implemented, which was, like safe needle transfers, things of that nature, like looking at addiction not as a criminal punishment, but instead as like an illness, like an addiction treatment. A focus is much better as well. So like if you want to mitigate, if you want to do harm mitigation, harm reduction, like there are things that we could do. We don't really implement it that well. The Biden administration did a decent job at it. They actually lowered the overdose numbers for the first time in U.S. history in the past couple of decades. So they didn't really promote it that much because they're fucking stupid, but that is something that they did. So drugs being trafficked over the border are not the end all be all. If you want to fucking like actually target how that problem starts to begin with, you got to combat the pharmaceutical industry, like the Sackler family that played a significant role. Yeah, played a significant role in like getting people addicted on fucking opioids to begin with.
Yeah, that shit's nuts, man. But that's why RFK. Look at that. That's your guy.
Yeah, I don't know what he's gonna do about the fucking Sacklers, but let me tell you, I'd be way more receptive to his commentary if that is actually something that he targeted, but he has not. I've heard a lot more from vaccine creators or vaccines in general, and not a whole deal about fucking opioids, the Sackler family, and making sure they rot in fucking prison. I'm sure that would be a pretty solid campaign message if he genuinely was interested in doing that.
Yo, change the topic a little bit. Were you view botting yesterday? Because your views were sick.
I don't know if you know this, but we had an election. We had an election yesterday, Bradley. I don't know if you know that. It was kind of like my Super Bowl.
Nah, I get it. That was dope, though. I was like, holy shit.
I mean, I had 100K today, too, and then I got fucking clapped. My stream effed. My stream went down, and then I had to restart it. So now we're sitting at fucking 45.
Damn, that's crazy. Because I tuned in. I was watching you, because I was streaming watching this shit. Obviously, election night. And I was like, nah, this motherfucker's botting straight up.
No. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
think you can
damn.
bot on Twitch.
I have no idea.
I don't think Twitch is I mean they do bot, like they do fucking like those random like Elon Musk is selling crypto type shit all the time, but like it would show if I was botting.
Oh, because they show like they do this thing, right? Like put like a caption around it.
I don't know how they do it. I'm not entirely familiar. I'm too much of a fucking boomer to know what that looks like. But Twitch already has like bot protection. They have a lot of safeguards around that sort of thing. And beyond that, like they shut down those accounts real quick. Like there's accounts sometimes that'll have like, it'll be like Elon Musk is selling crypto and it has like 45,000 live concurrent viewers. And you're like, what the fuck is this shit? And it's like very obvious. Or they'll post like, they'll do like restreams of iShow speed. Yeah.
Yeah. But if shit gets better in the next like 2 years, are you going to tell the truth, or are you going to try to just continue to cuck for the Democratic side?
I will absolutely tell the truth, 100%. But I don't foresee shit getting better at all.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope that it gets better. I believe so. I want to believe. So
I just know what happened last time Donald Trump was president. Shit did not get better.
But there's no wars. That was dope.
What do you mean there was no wars? We were still in Iraq. We were still in Afghanistan. He fucking blew up Syria and shit. He killed a Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani. He fucking threw away the Iran denuclearization agreement. Like, he did a whole bunch of nonsense. He accelerated Obama's drone wars by like 400% when he was in office. He did all this stuff. It's just he says he's anti-war, and then people are like, oh, I guess he's anti-war. Like, no. He is also very much pro-war. There's no American president that was anti-war. That does not happen, okay? You get fucking killed if that's where your actual position is. And
but they kind of ran on that right now.
I know. It's called lying, Bradley. Politicians do it all the fucking time. And Trump does a very good job at lying. The Democrats are too fucking stupid to lie. Sometimes I'm like,
well, no, they lie all the time. They lie all the time.
No,
what do you mean?
No, they lie for dumb shit. They should lie for good shit, okay? They should lie and be like, I want to give you health care. They don't even fucking lie about that. Think about how fucking stupid that is. Republicans can say whatever the fuck they want and be like, I love doing peace. I love doing peace. I am the no war candidate. And then they come into power and they do war. And then people are like, but he said he's the no war candidate, so I believe him. Okay.
Yeah,
Democrats are too stupid. They don't even want to fucking say they're the no war candidate. They don't even want to say that. They're like, no, we love war, actually. That's what they're running on, which is so dumb because most Americans are like, well, okay, I don't like war.
But why? But then why do they lie about so much dumb shit about like random shit Trump said? They just lie. They just make shit up. Everything
Like
is
what?
someone else's fault.
Like what?
Like all the Project 2025 shit that he's disavowed multiple times. They keep talking about it.
Bradley, that's the fucking Heritage Foundation. Donald Trump is absolutely going to implement Project 2025. 100p. He already did it. See, look, if you watch my analysis on this, you'll see, I believe, a different perspective. I am not like Project 2025 was something that a lot of people paid attention to. They were like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. That's really devastating. And I told everybody at the time, I was like, that's Project 2024. That's Project 2026. That's Project 2023. That shit has been implemented, and it was implemented under the Trump administration, and it was implemented far before the Trump administration as well. It's just a continuation of the Republican strategy to increase the level of influence that they have over the federal regulatory agencies. This has been a long-standing project, just like overturning Roe v. Wade was. That shit was set in motion 45 years ago when the Federalist Society was created. Like, that's not new. These guys have been at this for years and years. They're ideologically committed to doing shit like this. So, you know, it sometimes it'll be 10 years when they can get that, when they can get it done. Sometimes it'll take 30 years. Sometimes, in the case of abortion, it took 45 years, if I'm not mistaken. But that's real. The Federalist Society is real. It's a real, it's a real institution that now is responsible for half of the Supreme Court justices. They all came from the Federalist Society.
Listen, if there's no new wars in the next 2 years, bro, I'm fucking blowing you up.
What do you mean no new wars? Like, He's going to
Like, not
continue.
starting.
Okay, what if he continues the existing wars?
And that's trash too. I think he's talked about
Okay.
getting out of them.
Okay. So do you not think that it's trash that he didn't get out of the existing wars when he took over the administration from Obama?
I mean, I would like there to never be war. I think wars are bullshit, but at the same time, obviously, I know there's this whole fucking
No, but like he
backbone of
didn't,
fucking.
right? Like he didn't stop. You know, he just continued troop presence in Iraq. It was limited, but
Yeah, but what I'm saying is right now, though,
doing war in Afghanistan.
right? And now they're out of it.
Africa
What I'm saying is,
operations too. That's the other thing. America also does covert operations in Africa under the
I
guise
don't know
of combating Islamic fundamentalism.
I don't know shit about that. All I know is if he gets out of these two, the Ukraine and the fucking Israel shit, then I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it depends on how he gets out of it, quote unquote, gets out of it, because he has gotten a shit ton of donations from Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million. Miriam Adelson is the wife of the former Sheldon Adelson, who passed away. Rest in peace. Bozo, R.I.P. Sheldon Adelson, the casino magnate. He was a major Israel advocate, major Israel dick rider, and he actually gave Donald Trump, again, a shit ton of money. And that's the reason why Donald Trump did a whole bunch of things in the region that escalated tensions to such a degree that October 7 happened. The Abraham Accords, moving the American embassy to Jerusalem, which basically solidified the Israeli occupation of Jerusalem that's contested. It's an illegal occupation of East Jerusalem. He gave the Golan Heights, which is annexed territory from Syria. It's Syrian territory that Israel illegally occupies. It recognized that illegally seized land and said Israel actually owns this land. It was actually so shocking that Miriam Adelson a couple months ago straight up said in a public setting, straight up said, we didn't even ask for Golan Heights, and you just gave that to us. So he is 100% super firmly committed to Israel, and I don't think he's going to restrain Israel. I don't think he's going to fucking dial it back at all. Maybe Benjamin Netanyahu, who is Donald Trump's friend, will throw him a bone and make it seem like in the interim period that they're going to lower the casualties in their ongoing genocide. But overall, I think he's going to let Israel fucking go crazy, go nutty mode in the region. But we'll see. I think that they're looking to permanently annex the West Bank. That's what I think they're going to move towards. That's what Miriam Adelson said she wants to do.
Talking about trying to remove it.
They're going to permanently annex it. Like right now, it's under permanent military occupation illegally, and there's still 2.5 million Palestinians living there. I think that they're going to turn it into Gaza. Like, they're going to pummel it and overtake it in its entirety.
Well, will you support Trump if he makes that not happen?
I would be, dude, I don't care who does it. If they stop this ongoing genocide, restrain Israel, deny weapons transfers to Israel, cause Israel to no longer be an apartheid regime, yeah, I don't give a fuck who does it. Yeah, he would be cherished as a hero in perpetuity. The problem is his financial benefactors don't want him to do that. They want him to annex the West Bank, increasing the stress and increasing the violence that the Palestinian population is subjected to.
Well, hopefully this ages well.